It's so lovely to meet you. Virginia Thomas' voice sung with sweet softness. He immediately swooned over her as his caramel eyes drank her in. Soft raven curls bounced and cascaded over slender shoulders. Her dark blue eyes pierced the depths of his soul. She kept herself in good shape. She clutched a dainty handbag in her slender fingers. She appeared quite innocent. There ought to be a law against how her curves suffocated against the fabric of her cocktail dress. She was more than what Tristan Raymond expected of a woman. "Pleasure meeting you." He offered a soft smile. "Shall we?" He motioned for her to walk ahead as he held open the door. A quaint and cozy wine bar overlooked Lake Union in Seattle. Early summer had fallen upon the Pacific Northwest, and already the early evening felt warm and inviting. Jazz lift and fell over the soft din of conversation and clinking of dishware. Tristan followed close behind, eyes never parting from taking in all her beauty. God was quite an artist with her. The hostess sparkled and smiled as the couple approached. "Reservation for Tristan." He spoke with confidence while he flashed a charming smile. The hostess appeared to blush before turning on her heels and escorted the two to a quiet table. Both settled down and thanked the hostess. "I've never been here," Virginia chuckled as she gazed at him for a moment, her eyes lingering on his. "You'll love it here. Good food and good wine." He paused a moment and leaned a bit forward. "Unless you are not much of a wine drinker." She leaned forward as well. "Wine, whiskey, depends on the setting." She leaned back and a more mysterious smile edged her full pouty lips. Both picked up the menus and took a moment of silence to make their selection. The waiter approached, and within moments the two placed their respective orders. Tristan took a momentary reprieve and looked out the window. His eye caught something in the distance before he glanced at his own faint reflection. Virginia followed his gaze out of curiosity. "I have to admit that I was a bit anxious." He turned his gaze back to her. She sat with a gracious pose. Her fingers interlocked and her chin rested upon them. Tristan took a drink from the water. He felt his throat parched with thirst. "Not so anxious now." Virginia gazed at him with intriguing affection and spoke in hushed tones. "I felt nervous meeting you as well." Both looked at each other with calm feelings. Soon their awkward romantic interlude was politely interrupted as the waiter brought over their entrees. He smiled and nodded. "Anything else?" He was polite, slender, and quite gentle in his demeanor. "Not at all, thank you." Tristan thanked the young man with a gentlemanlike nod. Virginia smiled and kept her gaze on him. "I am good here, thanks." She offered a gracious smile. The waiter left their table and made his rounds to other patrons. She looked delighted, and her emotions blushed like a sweet, precious peach. Both enjoyed their meals and held quiet conversations. She found herself falling in love with his intellect, a gentle knight with a down-to-earth courage. His stories of heroic chivalry and gestures. She even giggled at the story of how he helped steady an old lady struggling at a grocery store. The waiter came and cleared their plates. "Anything else?" Tristan looked over Virginia as she bit down on the corner of her lower lip. "What is the best Merlot you have?" The waiter paused a moment and searched. "I recommend a bottle of 2012 North Star Winery Premier Merlot from Columbia Valley." Tristan glanced over to Virginia, and with a nod of approval, he ordered the $85 bottle. The young man disappeared a moment, and then returned with 2 wine glasses, wine key, and the Merlot. After settling the glasses onto the table, he presented the bottle to Tristan. Only a gold minimalist label adorned the dark bottle. 2012 North Star Winery Premier Merlot. The waiter waited for approval. Tristan smiled and nodded. Again, with expert precision, the waiter removed the foil and pulled the cork. He placed the wet side up on the table in front of Tristan. A small amount of wine splashed into the glass. He kept his eyes locked on the waiter. He looked over the color, swirled the liquid, and smelled the fragrance. Aromatic, flavorful tones of cocoa, cherry, and raspberry felt inviting and calming. The waiter smiled. He first poured Virginia a glass and then topped off Tristan's. With careful gentleness, he placed the bottle onto the table. A toast. Tristan raised his glass and winked. Virginia smiled and lifted her glass as well. To a nice romantic first date with a beautiful woman any artist ought to be envious of. Both took a small drink and enjoyed the warmth of the wine. Jazz continued to play, and Tristan stood. He stretched out a strong hand. Care to dance? She smiled, placed her hand in his. He guided her across the dance floor as if she was in a dream. Tristan rested his hand along the small of her back. Her hand draped over his shoulder and their free hands met. Fingers interlocked. Together they felt the music as their feet moved in perfect sync. Virginia felt relaxed as apprehension drained from her. He had ditched the suit jacket and loosened the tie. He also loosened the top button of his lavender shirt. His eyes were a light hazel and irresistible. Their gaze locked, and yet their bodies swayed in slow synchronicity. Every moment, every angle seemed natural, nothing forced as she felt herself floating away. Tristan squeezed her hand with tenderness. His charming smile showed he needed to say nothing else. Her heart, whole being, was now his and his alone. He turned with elegant style, his body in tune to hers and the music. He was someone she did not want to underestimate. She did not care at that moment. Was it because she was already falling in love with him? A man she hardly knew? The warmth between them grew more powerful. She felt his heartbeat with steadiness against her chest. She rested her body against his, melting into him, a perfect dance. Her breath taken away and her mind drunk with infatuation. She pulled away from him a moment and had lost herself in those eyes of his. Their lips drew to one another like magnets, crashing like gentle waves upon one another, a sweet kiss of Merlot wine upon their lips. Tongues dancing, mimicking their slow movements. Surge of passion rising, ebbing, and flowing. They did not concern themselves with those dancing around them. He felt her warm and inviting. Soft moans bubbled from her throat as her fingertips grazed along the nape of his neck. She pressed her body further into his. Eternity seemed to pass as time appeared to stop. Passion subsided and she pulled away to catch her breath. I love you. Her soft voice quivered. Her pouty lips pinched. Tristan drew the tip of his tongue across his lips, still tasting the moistness and warmth of hers. Tristan regarded her soft eyes, sparkling like sapphires. I definitely feel the same way. He spoke with hushed tones. Gentle rainfall began to descend from the clouds. A young woman stood next to him. He smiled and wiped away the tears. Tristan reached out and touched the coffin of his beloved. My sweet Merlot, he spoke with softness. ... The sweet voice of his daughter broke his moment of silence. You ready? She asked, arm around him in comfort. I already miss her too. She rested her head against her aging father. Tristan placed a small bouquet of roses onto the casket and looked heavenward. My sweet Merlot, he mumbled and watched as the casket lowered into the ground. He turned and walked in silence. Daughter beside him. Tristan Raymond thought about that first date and how Virginia Thomas looked. The taste of Merlot wine and the sweet, tender kiss haunted his aged lips.